Having the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, any committee updates or board comments? Seeing none, move right along. Lila, do you have a student representative report you might be able to share with us?
Yes, I do. The high school band and choir just got back, like an hour ago, from their field trip to see an open rehearsal of the Boston Symphony Orchestra. I'm sure it was great inspiration for their upcoming spring concert happening next Wednesday at 7 p.m. in the cafetorium. Submissions for the National Honor Society's annual snowman contest have officially closed, and they will be releasing the ballot for the town to vote on their favorite snow creations on their Instagram and Facebook pages sometime this upcoming week. Big congratulations to the girls varsity basketball team who played really admirably at semis last week, and another congratulations to our varsity track team who braved the snow last weekend and killed it at New England's. That's all I had for today.
Thank you so much. And moving right along, superintendent report.
Well, thank you. I wanted to actually just start at the end of this meeting. The next episode of Newmarket School Corner will be being dropped, released, if you will. That episode actually has two segments to it. One is a review by Chair Swanson and myself of the warrant and kind of giving people some information on the upcoming vote on the 14th. Hopefully that will be an informative piece. And then another segment on the play and the cast that was shot at She Kills Monsters back, it was just before vacation. So great program, check it out. Last time we had 1,000 views. Let's see if we can get up to 2,000 views on this one, everybody. So.
I was shooting for 1,001.
I'm going to watch it 1,000 times myself, so that'll double it. So anyway, School Corner is coming right up. And I also want to just mention, we are in the process, I guess, as I was thinking about saying something about this tonight, I realized that I had to make an announcement about one of our staff members retiring, but it is public knowledge. So Deb Rothau, our assistant principal at the elementary school, after 29 years, has announced her retirement. She's told the staff and so forth, but we have been advertising for a replacement, and I did want to just share some information with you. We'll honor Deb at a later meeting as a retiree, and she's done wonderful work, but I do think that we have advertised the position, and we have 46 applicants so far, okay? Which is a very different place than we were last May when I came on board, and we were attempting to hire an assistant principal at the junior senior high. So for what it's worth, we have lots of wonderful choices, and actually it's a kind of an exciting dilemma to have to screen through so many qualified people. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that to you. I think it speaks to a number of things. I think certainly the salary study that the district did earlier in the year to kind of make sure we're more competitive with salaries, that's one piece of it. But I also think we've done a lot of work on job descriptions, and so the information being shared on the job is much more complete, and it really spells out what the needs of the position are, and we've actually had a lot of people reaching out just wanting to talk about the job because it sounds like a job that people want to do. So anyway, I thought that was real good news to share, and obviously we'll have a nominee at some point to bring forward, but I think it speaks volumes to where we're at. So.
Those are all great things you mentioned, but I think it speaks even more volumes to a testament to the school leadership culture and the district leadership culture that's been established over the last 10-ish months.
Absolutely.
Yes. Appreciate that. So yeah, so it's just a very exciting place to be, and I know Sean Pine is really excited at the prospect of, thinking ahead to the future of leadership at the elementary school. So that's all I have for you in my report.
Great, thank you very much. Next up, we have committee reports. I'm assuming we don't have any committee reports since we didn't a few seconds ago, so we will bypass that. If it pleases the board, I'd like to switch the presentations around and have high school achievement first so that Principal Corman can have a couple minutes earlier head start home. So with that, Principal Corman, would like to...
Thank you very much, everyone. I was here a few weeks ago. I wanted to focus rather informal tonight on some of the amazing things that have been happening in our building over the last couple of months. Because Jamie will be here at a later date, so these are all academic, extracurricular, co-curricular recognitions. Jamie will talk about sports. While Ms. Bozak did a wonderful job, as always, presenting her student report, she neglected one very large piece of information. Ms. Bozak is a National Merit Scholarship finalist, which is an incredible honor. Just to give you an idea of how rare that is, she's in the top 1% of her peers on her PSAT score here in the state of New Hampshire. The process starts with about 50,000 students nationally recognized as National Merit Scholars. They cut it down to about 16,000 in September to National Merit semifinalists. And then overall in the entire country, she's approximately one of 8,000 students in the running for continued financial support for her next careers. And that's absolutely amazing, Lola, and I'm very proud of you. Great work. In that same vein, she mentioned it briefly as well. If you didn't get a chance, you really missed out. She Kills Monsters was absolutely phenomenal. A little bit biased. I went through many other employers that fell in love with some of the hits. I've seen Grease and West Side Story more times than I care to remember. So to see something completely different and really impressive was really eye-opening in the dedication and the courage of our kids. So I just want to call them out individually. Lila Bozak, Gray Elric, Isaac Hadrick, Corey Richardson, Ava Crum, Opie Guerra, Sean Vincent, Dylan Burns, Charlie Connolly Reynolds, Chloe Robichard, Athena Glennon, Sophia DePippo, and Patrick Walsh all put on one heck of a performance, and it was absolutely phenomenal to watch. From our guidance staff, we've had it is that time of the year where we start doing college trips to help folks figure out what the next steps are. Chris Bisson and Jody Callahan have really been publicizing this. We've had kids go to SNHU, Merrimack, Great Bay, and UNH just in the last couple of weeks. And then the next step, our friends over at NEAF, which is the New Hampshire Financial Aid Organization, on March 14th is doing a virtual presentation for college planning from the paying side for our junior and seniors and their parents. And then the following week, they are doing a college planning for our 9th and 10th grader parents and students, again, virtually, just to kind of help people through that process. Having seen these folks present before, they do a really, really nice job, and it helps answer a lot of questions for folks, as it may be their first time with the child going on to post-secondary, and they're phenomenal. Lila did mention literally an hour ago, our band and choir folks returned from Boston. So they went down today to see the Boston Symphony Orchestra perform, and it wasn't a traditional performance, it was their rehearsal, which was really interesting. Speaking with Brett and Allie, kids got the opportunity to watch professional musicians in a practice setting, which is always inspiring. I think when you are a high school student playing something, to watch someone who's a professional make mistakes and get called out and screw up, and then have the opportunity to engage with these people and have conversation. The only hiccup was Brett forgot where the bus was parked, so we got a little extra steps today around Boston, which was apparently sunny and about 50, so nobody complained too much. The Wednesday before break, Windsey Malsbury, with the help of several middle school students, piloted something that they coined whatchamacallit Wednesday. Essentially, Wednesday afternoon after middle school lunch, so probably the last hour, 10 minutes, hour, 20 minutes of the day, Windsey, with the help of a lot of students, created an opportunity where kids had the chance to select from one of about 15 different events or organizations to do. So kids pick things like crocheting or yoga, or Zoe Swalje was playing Name That Tune with 80 songs, which was really fun just to watch kids really be like, Journey? What is this? I don't understand. But it was a really great opportunity for kids to engage with teachers they may not have had yet, because just because you were a 6th grader didn't mean you weren't in an 8th grade teacher's session. And kids really had a great time organizing this. This was almost exclusively student-run. So just giving some more shout-outs, Peyton Pinasalt, Emma Fortin, Brennan Z were identified as some really big players, as well as Magnolia Redmond, Sahali Redmond, Penny Cossey, and Charles Tudor were instrumental in setting this up. Again, those are all middle school students working with their peers to create this opportunity for kids. The 30th of March, Jamie Hayes has done some work with Patty Wands to bring in a mental health motivational speaker is not the right word, mental health personal empowerment individual named Ivy Watts. She does fun. I've seen her once, probably 3 years ago, and it was probably one of the most powerful. She spoke to just a room full of educators. Really impactful, really focused on taking care of yourself and your mental health and how to help out others. She'll be coming to school on the 30th, which is the last Thursday of the month, to talk to all of our students. And then, because I decided to be absolutely crazy, I decided the Friday afternoon before break was a great time to give ice cream out. So our middle school students had a little bit of an ice cream social the Friday, for the last block of the day on Friday. Nothing like giving kids some sugar and then sending them home to you. And they had an absolutely great time. Again, that was our middle school student council with their advisors setting that up. And there is actually ice cream left over. They over-purchased a little bit, so I think we're going to try it again in April. Just a heads up to all the parents out there. Your kids might be coming home a little sugared up. And then finally, the last thing I just want to mention is before break, we did something that, as far as everyone I talked to, was a really new concept. We had an 8th grade parent night where we do our traditional presentation to our 8th grade students and parents coming up of here are the course expectations, here's what's happening. But we tweaked it a little bit, and we brought in the traditional freshman teachers, so the person who teaches freshman English, freshman math. So when you have a question of what book is covered, or what chapter do you cover this, or what is this, you don't want to listen to me. You want to talk to the person who's going to teach your child. And that was really well received by both community and staff. I was a little hesitant. I wasn't sure how it was going to go over, but staff universally came back and said I would do that again every single time. It was great to engage with parents, great to talk to kids, and really set the tone for them in a positive way for kids transitioning up. Again, just trying to spin all the positive out there. Lots of great stuff happening in that building every day, and I'm sure I'm missing hundreds of things, but these were the things that popped off the top of my mind. We are incredibly grateful every day for your support and help, as well as Superintendent Allen's trust in us to do what's absolute best for your kids. So plan on continuing that. The month of March can be a bit bumpy. We're trying to plan. I know we've got Net Zero in the month of April, doing some Earth Day prep work and trying to find some opportunities for kids to celebrate some success throughout the month as we continue on. Because I'm a firm believer that when you have positive culture, good things happen, and putting these little events in help really spur that. So that's what I have, just for kind of the good stuff that's happening in the building right now. If you guys have any questions about anything, I'd be happy.
I have one for you. Is that a copy you can give to
Yes.
our
Yes.
'Cause that was a lot of stuff. I can't imagine she was able to keep up with that
Yeah,
list.
I talked fast and I got a long way.
Good things high school, done.
But yeah, awesome.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for coming in. That was it was a ton of things to try to recall.
Digest.
She Kills Monsters is on Channel 13. If people would like to watch it, they still can. And it's glad to see that other people recognize how wonderful Lila is that we've already known for years.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
If you've not seen it, seriously, check it out. It is
great.
It'll take you just a minute to get over the visual of Lila in a cheerleader outfit. Once, it was literally incredible. It's like,
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Great night. Thank you. Next up, we also have a presentation on
Yes.
snow day makeup.
Yes. Just before the vacation, we had our 4th snow day. And that, as you can imagine, I'll mention it under correspondence. It did prompt some feedback from community members asking about what my plan was to deal with snow day makeups. And so I thought, I'm not looking for a decision tonight because I'd love to tell you that we're going to get no more snow in the month of March, but there's still possibilities out there. But I just wanted to put in front of you where my brain is at and what my thinking is on how to go about making this up. So you do have a memo in your packet if you can follow along, because there's a lot of math in this. So I Now, one of the biggest things I want people to understand is that while most school districts still plan their calendars around what's called 180-day instructional days, the minimum standards from the state changed a long time ago, and they really don't require 180 days specifically. So what people need to understand is that they've shifted from a calculation of days to hours. And so when we get down to when it's appropriate to have school end, what's most important is that we calculate the hours of instruction and make sure we've met those standards. Minimally, and I want to emphasize minimally, and you will never hear me advocate for doing the minimum, but I want you to understand that the minimum is the standard that we work from. On a minimum basis, we have to have 990 instructional hours at the junior senior high level. We have to have 945 instructional hours at the K-5 level. And we have to have seniors have 960 instructional hours before they are able to graduate. Again, those are minimums. So that then leads us to a conversation about how to manage when we have had 4 snow days so far. When we planned the calendar for this year, the junior senior high had 1,054 instructional hours planned. Okay? The elementary school had 979 instructional hours planned. The reason that there's a difference is that the instructional day at the junior senior high is simply longer than the instructional day at the elementary school. The junior senior high day actually is more than 6 hours, but by state standard you can't count more than 6 hours in a day. So that's just the way it works. And our elementary school day is 5 hours and 35 minutes. So that's why the numbers are different. When you plan your calendar, you have to take into account 60 hours of opportunity to make up time. Okay? So that comes in the form of what are called snow days. Could be the 5 days. Typically the calendars are built, and you'll see the calendar for the 23-24 year. We map that out, and there are 5 days in there that are potential makeup days. And officially we have that opportunity this year as well. The day the calendar indicated as the final day of school was June 16th. However, that whole week after that is 5 days of potential time that you could make up. Additionally, there are other places you can make up time. You can convert workshop days into academic time and so forth. But we built adequate amount of time into our calendar to be able to meet that standard. So what that basically means is we have a calendar to start with that is well above minimum standard. Okay. The other variable we have to take into account when we make a decision on when school ends is our contracts with our teachers and our paraeducators. The teacher contract calls for 186 work days, or with a maximum of 181 for instructional purposes. In other words, you have to have at least 5 teacher workshop days. The paraeducator contract basically is for 184 days. Okay, and obviously that it doesn't specify how many are workshop days, but clearly the teacher contract drives the maximum you can have for instructional time. So those are the variables that we have to work with. So what have we dealt with so far this winter? Well, we've had 4 snow days. What that means at the junior senior high level is we've had 24 hours of lost instructional time as a result of snow. At the elementary school level, it's 22.3. Okay, so when on its face, we could make a decision to say, okay, let's just subtract those number of hours, and you'll see that we're still in a place, regardless of what we choose to do, we are in a place where we've met the minimum standard. As I said to you before, I'm not a person who believes in minimums, and you'll never hear me advocating that we only do the minimum. So I do think we need to establish the notion that there needs to be some level of makeup of this time when it is lost. So how would I propose that we do that? And that's kind of what this is leading to. So here's what I am proposing, and it's I certainly can take questions once I go through it. First thing I would suggest is we have 2 half-days scheduled on April 19th and May 17th. Those are days that we have called early release days that are typically used for teacher professional development. I would suggest we convert those to full full academic days. In other words, they're on Wednesdays, so we'd still be obligated to our Wednesday model where we dismiss a half an hour early, but we could still reclaim 2.5 hours on each of those days for a total of 5 hours at each building. That then leads us into to make up any additional time, it leads us into the following week. One of the complications to the following week is that Monday is a national holiday. Monday, June 19th is Juneteenth, and it's a recognized national holiday. I would not recommend having school on that Monday because it is a national holiday. I would suggest at this point that we establish the last instructional day as June 21st for all non-seniors. And then to complete the work year for our teachers, they would then have, and our paraprofessionals, they would have the Thursday and Friday of that. June 21st is Wednesday of that week. And then Thursday the 22nd and Friday the 23rd would be work days. And I would tell you, I've had a lot of conversation with the union. I've had a lot of conversation with my leadership team. And we have no shortage of things that we all want to have wrapped up and worked on before the summer and before the start of next fall. So there is absolutely no shortage of things we would want to do with those 2 days. So that proposal assumes we have no additional snow days. If we were to have additional snow days coming up, there are really 2 ways to go. One way to go would be to say we can set the day at June 21st and hold to it no matter what, and we would still be okay with minimum standards. I would not recommend that just because I think there needs to be some element of makeup when things are lost. If we get more snow days, we just simply add them on. But I would not recommend having the last day of school any later than June 23rd, because I think when you really get into the end of June, those of us in education, Andrew, I'm sure you're thinking the same thing. It's like it's not a great, the educational environment, when it gets up to the 90s, it can be a challenging time to be in a building. And so if we did have, let's say, God forbid, we had like the floods like we had in 2007 or 8 where we lost like 5 days or something in the spring. If that were to happen, I would say we would obviously have to have a different conversation. But I would not want students in school any further than June 23rd. However, from a minimum standard standpoint, we have a lot of flexibility there, and we can choose to do many things. So I put that to you. I'd be happy to answer questions about that.
Can I ask a question about process?
Sure.
What is this change? Is a vote from the board going to be required to make this change?
The board has to set the calendar.
Okay.
So yes, the board, you would need to vote to say what's the last day of school. One of the things, in fact, I was on a call a couple of weeks ago with the commissioner, and one of the questions asked was, well, will you waive any of the days? And his response was, well, why would I do that? The standards already give you local board authority to make the decision for what works for you locally. So short of, like I say, a massive flood that causes, lots of lost learning time, there's nothing for the state to weigh in on. What we need to do is to balance it. So the setting of the calendar is a local school board decision. So you would have to make the determination on that. I did forget to mention too that I suggest we keep graduation on the June 9th date no matter what, because that has a significant negative impact if you mess around with it. And because we have so many extra hours built into our calendar, our seniors are not going to be shortchanged at all. If we keep where things are at right now, seniors will still have 1,004 hours, and they only need 960. So clearly, the June 9th date, I think that's an absolute. We don't have to worry about that.
When will you propose bringing this to the board for an approval?
Well, and I'm putting it in front of you now to get you started to thinking about it. I'd love to say that the next meeting, the winter will be over and we'll have no more threat of snow, but I'm going to.
This is New Hampshire, right? You realize
we might want to do this in phases, because I do think to convert the April what's the date? April 19th and May 17th days to full days. We need to communicate that out in enough advanced warning so that people can plan ahead. And obviously, if we're not going to do that, then we need to continue to or how we're going to use that professional development time. But as far as setting the official last day, as long as we don't tamper with graduation, we can probably wait until April 6th or so to make that determination.
Would you be comfortable with families that are looking at planning towards the summer to say that they could potentially start planning for that last week of June for family things or summer camps?
Again, it comes down, I mean, am I comfortable? Absolutely,
Okay.
but I think it comes down to, you guys as a board have to officially decide what you want to do. I mean, I'm recommending we don't have school any beyond June 23rd. That's
Okay.
my recommendation to you, and that would mean the whole last week of June is clear for families and so forth. That would be from my perspective, that would be the worst case scenario.
Okay.
But obviously, what I'm proposing here, assuming no additional snow days, we would be ending on Wednesday, June 21st.
Thank you. So did you have something to say?
Well,
Keep interrupting.
no, I know we're not advocating for minimum, but we are still well within, even if we did nothing different,
Correct.
well within what the state requires. So I guess the question is, we're saying that there are educational reasons that we want to make up these days, correct?
Contract.
Well,
Or
there's
are there contract reasons?
well,
That's my question.
well,
Is it the
there's-
contract or the
No,
educational requirement?
the contract only says, for the teacher contract says we can have a maximum of 181 instructional days. So it doesn't say what the minimum is. So we could have this proposal gives us 178 instructional days. We scheduled 180 when we began, so it's reducing by 2 the number of instructional days. In fact, I got a question from one of the union, from the union leadership. It was like, is there any reason why we wouldn't just end it on the 16th? My reaction was, I think we have to have some skin in the game. I think we have to, because whatever you said is the last day, anybody who's lived in a school knows that the day before the last day is different than the last. So to try to maintain some level of academic rigor and real focus, whatever the last day is, you kind of think, okay, we'll back up from there. When is the productive time going to be? So I'm thinking that if you had school on the 21st as the last day, it would probably be a half day. That's typically what has been done here. That would guarantee certainly academic rigor through at least Friday the 16th, and probably Tuesday the 20th, 20th, yeah, the 20th.
And when you calculated the new numbers, was that half day in there on the?
So, yes,
23rd?
the new numbers converts the 2 half days
No,
to.
you just said the last day would be a half day.
Oh, yeah,
So is
that's,
that
yeah, that
calculated?
was in the original calculation.
Oh,
So
okay.
that was in the original
Oh,
calendar.
true, right,
Yep.
yeah, okay.
I guess my thought is around if we have teachers and building leaders saying like, oh, we need these days back, like totally for it.
Mhm.
If it is trying to hit a number of instructional days per union contract, I am far less inclined to say that this is like the
Right.
direction we should have.
Right.
And I'm a little bit concerned about families who are like have some trip that they've planned, like starting on the 19th.
Yep.
And just like I just don't want to set them up for failure.
And absolutely, this board could decide that they want to, June 16th was the last day, we're going to hold with that no matter what, and we can absolutely do that, and we would be well within minimum standards to do that. Yep.
But
I guess I'm sorry.
I guess I'm confused. I get the hours, we'd meet the minimum, but when we're talking about the contracts for the teachers, how, if we ended the 16th,
At the end of 16th, it just means more teacher professional workshop days, so we would have more of those days.
Okay.
So if you, because we need 186 work days for teachers.
Yeah,
So
we have-
if we decided we wanted to end on the 16th, we would basically have Tuesday through Friday of that following week would all be teacher professional days.
okay,
And my leadership team is not here, but I guarantee we can fill those days. We absolutely have lots to do. We absolutely can use whatever time is there. I guess I'm just leery of letting the integrity of the instructional calendar go too far towards the minimum.
I totally agree, right? Like, and I'm not advocating for like the minimum. I suppose I don't have enough information as to how if teachers are planning their curricula, or the curricula is planned with flexibility with like, oh, there probably will be some snow days, or is it planned down to like we like have to make up snow days?
Well, I think the sooner we can tell teachers what the last day is, then they can back plan from that. I think, obviously, if we waited until June 1st and said, okay, here's, that would be very disruptive. But notifying them now what the last day is, typically, particularly at the junior, senior high, that's on a quarter basis. And so you're kind of organizing curriculum around quarters. And so your last quarter would just be a little bit shorter, and you'd figure out how to manage that to accomplish what you need to in that time. And actually, just as a point about the general teacher when I've been around buildings talking to people, I've had teachers tell me, oh, that would be so awesome to have as many workshop days as we can get, 2, 4, whatever. And then I've had people say, no, please give me students right down to the last minute. So I think 6 of one, half dozen the other. What I would say is certainly that certainly 2 days from a leadership standpoint, we have a lot of work to do to kind of prepare for the following year, and having a couple of days at the end would be really valuable. But having 3 or 4 we could also make very valuable as well.
I could tell you from a teacher standpoint, I think the only benefit of more instructional days and less school days would probably be seen for teachers that are teaching like AP classes that have the test in May, and that last month is just kind of like the stuff you normally don't do, because there is a set amount of curriculum you have to go through, especially like when you look at the math program in the elementary school, and if you've lost X number of days of snow days, you still have to make that up somewhere. And I am worried that, if we end it on that Friday, like originally planned, really the last day of instruction is really that, that Wednesday or Thursday. So there's just, the less days we make up, really the earlier the school year ends, if that makes sense. But if you could forgive me, just 2 suggestions. The first one is, it would be nice if we could add Juneteenth for next year's calendar. I know that's after we're planning to get out right now, but just for planning purposes, to know that that would be a day that students would have off no matter what. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay. And then the other one is just, this is scratching old wounds for me, but to make sure that what is expected for those instructional days, or for the PD days after students get out, is very clearly agreed upon and communicated with between the administration and the union, and that all teachers are aware of that expectation.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. And actually, I would say one of the things I've been very pleased about is union leadership is very supportive of the idea of having some of this teacher work time at the end, because they're actively engaged in conversations about a lot of things. We've talked about the NEASC work, the literacy program review. There's a number of things that are going on that would be very beneficial to spend some time on, including a couple of committees that are being launched here in the spring regarding professional growth, and taking a look at the professional growth model or evaluation system, all of those kind of things. So there's quite a bit where staff input needs to be managed. So I'm very confident we can build those days, however many you give us, to be very productive and geared towards bringing closure to the year, but also looking ahead to the fall. Just as a thought, to kind of let you know, because Patty will be here at a future time to talk to you about this, but we are looking ahead to summer curriculum work happening as well, and we're doing this concept called a call for summer proposals from our professional staff to engage them in thinking about what are some of the challenges that they want to take on to better prepare them, whether it's developing their UBD curriculum, whether it's coming up with assessments for their classes, whatever it is. And those days at the end would actually potentially help launch many of those efforts. So I think there's hopefully going to be a lot of ownership on the part of teachers in what we're doing. Can I guarantee 100% of the people will be thrilled to have 2 or 3 or 4 workshop days? I can't promise that, but I can promise you we can get some really productive stuff done.
So could I suggest that perhaps we look at the 23rd of March to decide whether or not to cancel the April 19th half day. It's only 2 weeks away, but it'll give us a little bit more information. And then after that, we can decide further along about the May 17th, May 15th, May something.
I mean, my thought would be to just do them together.
Yeah, we could do them both together, that's fine.
Yeah.
But my thinking was around mid-April, we'll have better information.
Right.
April 20th or 19th, April 20th. We'll have better information about the remainder of the year.
Right. Well, at this point, we know we've lost 24 hours at the high school and 20.
That's fine. If
22
you're thinking you
point-
want to cancel both of
So, I
those.
mean, my thought would be, look, that's an easy thing to do. It doesn't have a negative impact that much. It means we have to rethink how we get some things done, but if we trade it off with a couple of days at the end, we'll be all set.
So why don't we decide that on the 23rd?
Sure.
Does anyone need any additional information from Todd prior to look at the rest of the calendar? Maybe sometime in April, 20th or something?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Do we have any, move on to discussion items, do we have any correspondence?
I did want to mention too, one I did tell you, I got a couple of emails about snow days, which prompted me to initiate this conversation with you. But I also did get communication from a community member expressing some concerns about means of egress from this room and questioning whether this is the best location to host school board meetings.
So I've had
It's always been.
I've had conversations with the community members as well who have brought up the same thing, not since the last meeting, but like I know I expressed it in the last CIP meeting about it, that there's concerns about egress here.
Weren't they supposed to?
Perhaps the number of chairs would help too. Reducing the number of,
thought
yeah,
they were
there
supposed
actually
to
is a door.
Yeah.
No, but even,
But you're right, no, absolutely.
not just for us, but for
Right.
anyone sitting out there.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. All right, great, thank you. Next item in discussion, we did discuss this briefly last meeting, but I wanted to bring it up again since we didn't have a full board. Todd and I have spoken, and although his contract has been extended for another year, he's expressed interest in staying in the district for a prolonged period of time. I think based on the discussions we've all had, we're interested in that. Obviously, any final decision, or not obviously, but any final decision probably should be made closer to June when a full year's been completed. But I would recommend that the next board after this upcoming election perhaps appoint someone to at least initiate discussions of what a contract extension might look like.
Sure.
Yeah, no disagreement.
Okay. And then also we have finished Todd's evaluation, and we'll be discussing that tonight and voting on it. But I just wanted to bring it up in public session so everyone was aware of it. Anyone have any comments at this point on that? Okay, thank you. And the last item, as everyone knows, Representative Cahill has done a ton of work trying to help out our district, certainly trying to get some, recuperate some funds retroactively for building aid. And it occurred to me when reading one of his attempts and learning that there was going to be some public sessions in the legislature, that perhaps the board wants to write an open letter to the legislator expressing our concerns and pointing out from a local district's level how beneficial recuperating some funds would be and how much it's affected us. So I don't know if anyone's interested, would the board be interested in doing that?
Sure.
Yes, nothing to lose.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing to lose.
Would you like me to draft something and then bring it back for a future meeting?
That sounds fantastic.
Can I play devil's advocate real quick?
Sure.
So first, I am support it. I where's the line where we feel comfortable with a board submitting a letter towards the legislature concerning a policy issue between where it's appropriate and where it's not appropriate?
That's interesting. I don't know if it's a policy
Policy
issue.
issue?
Oh,
no, Is it a no,
It's
but
legal,
like,
right? It's
but that
law,
is-
not
It's a law.
policy.
No, I'm sorry. Maybe that's not the right issue. I guess I'm looking for so there have been, there are a lot of educational bills right now, and some are more controversial than others. Some boards have written letters about those. Where is our board's line for what we will write a letter for and what will we not?
Great
I guess
question. That's a
that's
great
my
question.
Well, I mean,
Great question.
just define what you mean by we. Are you,
the board.
so collectively we, as opposed
Yes.
to individuals.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I think we'd
expressing.
probably feel that. As
I
we-
got there. Where I was trying to make. Yeah.
Yeah, I assume we'd kind of have to feel that as we went along and thought issues were worthy of doing it, right?
I would
I
think,
don't-
oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
I would say, if we were sending anything as a board, the board would have to vote on it.
Exactly.
Like, it cannot be like, yeah, okay, write that, and then like, there's
Okay.
like, yeah.
Right. But all in be in
But
agreement.
no, it's a good question, Andrew. I don't know if it's something we can actually answer without looking at all the legislature and pending legislation and say, well, we would this, wouldn't that.
When is the crossover date for legislation that needs to, does anyone know?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Do not know that. It's a great question.
Hold on. I think it's usually June.
Okay, so we have plenty of time.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
In fact, there have been times when it's extended into July if they haven't been able to get their work done. If I could just also add, this particular issue has a unique impact on Newmarket because of the fact that we have a retroactive, if you will, building project that we are paying for. 8% of our
8%.
operating budget goes to paying debt service. And were we to get anything in terms of retroactive building aid, it would be really beneficial to us immediately and very direct. So I think it's, and there's only, I believe Representative Cahill mentioned there are like 17 schools that are in a similar category to us.
Something like that,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for writing that.
Yeah, thank you very much. All right, moving right along, open the floor for public comment at 5:43 PM. And not seeing anyone at the podium, we will close the floor at 5:43 PM. If it's okay with the board, I'd like to change the action items around a tiny bit. I'd like to move 6 and 7 up to 1 and 2, and actually go into non-public at this point to discuss those. Any objections to that?
So then we're gonna come back and approve
We would have
under
to, I think,
five?
two different
Correct.
non-publics. We would
Yeah,
go into
yeah, we would.
non-public,
Yeah.
out, in.
Yeah, it's good practice. So I'd seek a motion to enter a non-public session under RSA 91A 3, letter C, to discuss superintendent's evaluation, which could potentially negatively affect a person of the public, as well as to discuss an educational hardship request.
So with educational hardship request is not C though, is it? Is it still C?
It would be, I
Okay.
believe.
Probably both.
Just wanna,
Yeah, I believe so.
okay.
So moved.
Oh, sorry.
I'm waiting, I'm like, didn't I say it? All right, so Phil, we'll say Phil made the motion and Dan second. That's all right with everyone?
You all zoned out.
All right, by roll call, it's, we're never this early in the meeting having
I
a
know.
non-public, so. By roll call vote, Dan Smith,
Aye.
Gary Swanson, aye. Amy Tilton,
Aye.
Andrew Hamaker,
Aye.
and Phil Nazar.
Aye.
All right, with that, we are in non-public. You're gonna right, I seek a motion to seal the minutes.
So moved.
Because they made adversely affects once. Mr. Nazaro, thank you. Need a second for that?
Amy, I mean,
Amy said Amy did. All right, roll call vote. Gary
Second.
Swanson, aye. Amy Tilton,
oh my God.
aye.
Aye.
Aye, 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 aye. Andrew,
Aye.
aye. Phil,
Aye.
Dan.
Aye.
All right, those are sealed. Thank you very much. So let's see, we have 2 items on the agenda to vote on, action items that we moved up. They are educational hardship request. I'd seek a motion to accept the educational hardship request presented to us by Superintendent Allen.
So moved.
Second.
And any further discussion on that? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We also have approval of Superintendent Allen's evaluation. I guess we say on public that we were all, the board has been very impressed and appreciative of all Todd and his staff's work, and I think the evaluation reflected that. Does anyone have any other thoughts or anything we want to?
I just want to say thank you to Todd for all his hard work since he's been here. He's accomplished so much in such little time. I'm just overly impressed and glad to have you here.
I would just also say it's feeling is mutual. It's been a very, it's been a good experience for me as well. Newmarket's a great community, and we're hoping to accomplish some big stuff here in the near future.
With that, I'd seek a motion to approve Superintendent Allen's evaluation.
So moved.
Second.
A and A. All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Passes. We also have a approval of coaching nomination.
Do you want to approve the minutes, or are we going?
Well, we'd moved up
7.
6 and 7, so
This is B.
it's part of 7.
7B.
Todd, do you want to present that since I don't have that open? I'll find it. We have a Newmarket grad for softball.
Coach, hold on.
Megan Savanning, is her name?
It's super song.
Yeah, Megan Subin Song, you're right, thank you, who's not only attended Newmarket for many years, was also played softball at UNH for 4 years, as well as coached in the rec softball league. I'm going as slow as I can. And has run pitching and clinics for lots of kids in town. She has a couple of references, and was interviewed by softball, the varsity softball coach, as well as our athletic director, and was the only candidate. Does anyone have any?
Find the paper. I apologize. My first failure.
Oh my gosh, no, not at all. Does anyone have any thoughts?
Just glad to have her.
All right,
Yeah.
great. Seek a motion to accept that coaching nomination.
So moved.
Second.
And if I could, while we're still on personnel matters, I did want to mention one thing that doesn't require a decision, but I just did want to mention it. We did receive a request from one of our staff who is on maternity leave to extend their maternity leave through the end of the year. It doesn't require you to reapprove it. We are going to allow that, and just so you know, we have staffing to cover it. It's all good.
Okay.
Great, thank you. With that, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Coaching nomination is accepted. Now we're going to loop back up and approve minutes from the February 4th deliberative session, as well as the February 16th school board meeting. And we're going to strike the 21st because there are some corrections that need to be made to that. So I'd seek a motion to approve the deliberative session and the February 16th public minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Is the 16th the day that you and I were out?
Yes, so.
So should we separate the two?
Yes, we should. Thank you very much for reminding me. So I'm going to amend Phil's motion
Yeah.
to be the February 4th deliberative session only.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Phil, did you?
Aye.
Oh, you did. You ayed. Thank you. I'd seek a motion to approve February 16th public minutes.
So moved.
Dan
Second.
and Amy. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays?
Abstain. Was that-
Any, I was gonna get to there. Any abstentions? 2? All right, thank you both very much. We have a manifest.
More? Oh, you wanna do it?
You got it. You grabbed it quick.
Sorry. Yo, yeah. Make a motion to approve the manifest for the week of March 9th, 2023, for the amount of $547,847.52.
Motion on the table, may I have a second?
Second.
Amy Tilton, thank you very much. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. And next up, we have a generous, yeah, we're gonna skip that. We have another generous donation from the NCEP. Todd, would you like to?
Yeah, this is actually a grant that was applied for by Stephanie Doan and Jana Mellon. And they were able to secure a $750 grant for a smoothie machine.
Wait, that's not the
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
NCEP one.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
You're right, there are 2.
I'm reading from 2 things. They're on the same memo. I apologize. So excuse me, the first one is a grant that Stephanie and Jana got from the New England Dairy Food Council for a smoothie machine. So that's one. And then the second one is a $750 grant for the graduating class, for the class of 24. They actually did quite an elaborate application. The goal of the grant is to get funding for the high school class of 24. Our goal is to focus on social and emotional aspects of the class by planning a team bonding trip as we enter our senior year.
Great. And with a very well-written letter by that group.
Yeah, Emma Wakowiak did a really nice job
Yeah.
with that, and didn't sign her thing, so I just wanted to
Yeah.
call her by name.
Did they write the grant, or did the teacher?
Student.
Wow,
Like,
that's fantastic.
All right. Any further discussion? Let's seek a motion to approve that, the donations.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, Dan, you guys are really slacking over here. I don't mind telling
sorry.
you. All right. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. That is the end of our action items, I do believe, unless I've missed any. All right. With that, we'd seek a motion to go into non-public session pursuant to RSA 91A3, Roman 2L, to discuss legal matters.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Bill. All right, by roll call vote, Dan Smith,
Aye.
Gary Swanson, aye. Amy Tilton,
Aye.
Bill Nazaro,
Aye.
Andrew Hamaker,
Aye.
and we are in non-public at 6:26 PM.